God unleashes millions of monsters every 15 years to help decrease population. Monsters are more powerful than humans, therefore humanity's only option is to hide. A narrative concerning the alleged First Judgment Day opens the movie. Then, swarms of monsters emerged from ordinary mines and the depths of the earth. Cities were devastated, and millions of people were slain. With these creatures, a true fight broke out, and it was ultimately successful in wiping them out. Gates that are intended to shield people from frequent incursions were erected on the location of the previous wells as protective constructions. There have been 15 years. The world was able to move on somewhat after the event. Laura is one of the fortunate individuals who managed to live. She's employed by the school. She occasionally turns down dates from Milton, a persistent but failed male acquaintance. Most likely, her ex-husband Dave is the cause of this bitterness. On the Day of Judgment, he was not with Laura, leaving the pregnant woman to fend for herself. Tyler, Dave and Laura's 15-year-old son, is their child. He spends the entire day at the skate park with his pals and Maddie, his girlfriend. He spends his free time playing video games and serves as a negotiating tool in the tense marriage of his father and mother, who split up right after he was born. The crisis is escalating in the meanwhile. One of the signs of a potential monster invasion is the impending eclipse, which is also coming. In addition, there has been an increase in seismic activity, workers working in the protective dome are performing emergency inspections, and there has been some extremely unsettling news. Fish began disappearing worldwide in great numbers. The day before the First Judgment Day, the identical incident took place. Another troubling symptom is migration, which is a sign that everything is happening just as it did 15 years ago. When the phone rings, Tyler is spending the weekend with his father. A call from Ted, an old buddy of Dave's, arrives. He is certain that tomorrow will be the next Judgment Day. Before the eclipse, he demands that Dave bring the family immediately to his shelter. The first creature emerges in the meantime, silently creeping up the steps beneath the shielding dome. Laura now makes a call to Dave. She insists that Dave bring Tyler home after hearing about it on the news. She is certain that Milton's prepared sanctuary is the only thing that can rescue them. Dave reassures her that Tyler is secure in his care because he is the father. While his father is speaking, Tyler receives a text, reads it, and then slips out of the home. Dave needs to deliver Tyler to Laura right now since she's in a panic and Dave's house isn't safe. Dave concurs. Tyler isn't in his room when he goes there. Milton urges Laura to go quickly since the shelter is getting crowded. She explains that Tyler is nowhere to be found. His phone number is used by Milton to locate him at the skate park. Tyler and Maddie are indeed present. She feels anxious since she was left alone after her parents departed. She begs Tyler not to leave her because she is so terrified. Tyler swears he won't leave Maddie alone, in contrast to what his father did. When a bird cries out, enormous flocks of birds take off in that direction. People panic and flee the park. Dave travels to the park to seek for Tyler as everyone leaves town. He is stuck in a massive traffic congestion and abandons his car to rush after his son. The worker now inspects the devices beneath the dome. There is a stir and some odd noises. A monster rushes in and rips the worker apart. The troops firing at it from a distance are unsuccessful since it is unharmed by standard ammunition. Tyler and Maddie watch in terror as chaos reigns. As Tyler tells his father that Maddie has nowhere to go and that he couldn't leave her, Dave rushes in. Milton and Laura arrive by car, and Laura then drives everyone to the shelter where the seats are reserved. The eclipse will begin in a little more than an hour. The city is in full disarray, people are attempting to flee, and there are traffic jams everywhere. They eventually get at the shelter, but it has been sealed off by the military and is only open to women and children. Tyler is sent to the shelter with his mother, and Dave urges Tyler to look after his mother. She stays in the crowd with Milton. Tyler runs to his father after visiting the shelter. Maddie and Laura run after him. "He is my father, and I won't leave him," Tyler yells. There are now no open spots in the shelter, according to information displayed on the scoreboard. They sprint to the automobile with little delay. Milton advises sheltering at the school, which is nearby and has a basement, while Dave offers to travel to Ted's hiding place in the desert. Once again, the route was obstructed by several automobiles. They exit the vehicle. The sun disk is cast in shadow as an earthquake starts. There is now an eclipse. The creatures emerge from behind the shielding dome. The city is seized by their throngs, who are flying and crawling. Dave advises fleeing the city because it's so much riskier there. Although Milton is furious since this is his automobile and he is the one who can save everyone, he wants to drive himself. With Dave, they get into a brawl. But suddenly a winged creature snatches Milton and lifts him into the air. Dave forces Laura into the car as she cries heartbreakingly as they attempt to escape this misery. Along the canal, they travel. Dave reassures the kids that everything will be well and that we will go. Gas is running low in the automobile. Dave is looking for an alternative. There are several automobiles in front of us. Dave enters one of the vehicles. In the back seat, an old guy hid. He casts a quick glimpse at a massive, crimson beast that resembles a bull's skeleton. He's extremely near. The bull approaches the automobile without spotting them and starts to eat the body that is laying there. Dave drives the vehicle back to Laura and the kids very gently. Both automobiles are now side by side, however they must go over to a different one. The bull saw them in the inner room. Then the guy exits the vehicle and pours salt upon the bull from the jar he was holding in his hands. The kids and Laura were able to run into Dave's car once the bull stopped. The bull then charges the victim and rips him to pieces. However, Dave is able to leave the area via car. Monsters swarm the city in droves from all directions. In the highlands, Dave is traveling along an uninhabited road. They arrive via car to Ted's cover. It resembles a concrete bunker and is quite sturdy. Although there are cameras on the roof, no one answers the door when they knock since it is closed. A pistol is held to Ted's neck while he is seated at the monitor, and someone is standing nearby. Along the mountain, a herd of monsters runs. They head right towards the cover. In an effort to shield the family, Dave grabs a tire iron, but just in time, the bunker's doors open, causing them to crash into it. Along with his wife Stella, who is in the bunker, and a military guy who is seated in the corner, Dave gives Ted a joyful embrace. Corporal Garrett Jensen, an acquaintance of Ted's, is introduced. The creature's attempts to slam the door are seen on the monitors. Garrett keeps to himself as everyone is agitated. Maddie queries whether the monsters can see through the walls and how they feel them. They respond to heat and light, but Garrett believes they can also see our soul. Although they torture the physical, they eat the spirit. "Do you practice religion, Corporal?" asks Laura. "Today," he responds, "yes." He claims to have worked in a refinery on the first Judgment Day. He was able to dive into a body of salty muck as the monsters started pouring in, where they were frightened to approach. As the creatures wiped off 150 of his co-workers and friends, he sat in the mud and watched. Garrett is so absorbed in his tale that he misses Ted telling Dave to touch the knife. Dave accepts and takes the knife stealthily. Because the devil dominates on this day, Garrett says, that is why it is named Judgment Day. Suddenly, something that like a centipede creeps inside a little opening in the mesh that covers the window from the sidewalk. Garrett says he'll start out on duty. Inviting them to remain as well, Ted gives Dave a thoughtful look. Dave is subsequently forced to put down the knife as Garrett removes the revolver from its holster. Garrett tells that he looked for a place to hide and discovered this one. Ted objected to it, but kind Stella allowed him inside. No matter the cost, he will survive just like he did the previous time. Tyler charges Garrett and attempts to grab the pistol away from him. Garrett, though, discards him. Dave consoles the soldier. As a centipede-like creature charged Stella at this point, Dave grabbed a revolver from Garrett and shot it. Ted ripped the monster off his wife's neck and sprinkled salt on it. Although more monsters emerge, people are able to defeat them. In an effort to halt Stella's bleeding, they tie up Garrett. Then Dave sees a big bull arrive to aid the creatures. He realizes that they must escape the bunker since they are doomed. The bull is attempting to smash the doors. Ted claims that his wife won't survive outside, thus he doesn't want to go outside. Stella, however, requests that he accompany the group since there is a tunnel that connects the mountains and the bunker. Garrett convinces him to go with him by explaining that he has a car with a full tank and can drive everyone to the gate and that there are bunkers where the animals have already fled and won't be returning. He claims that he was only trying to survive, and that now it will benefit him to aid them, even if they do not believe him. They choose to leave. Dave assures Garrett that once we arrive, everything will be forgotten. They equip themselves since Ted has an extensive collection of weaponry. The bull repeatedly attempts to tear down the doors, but they are able to escape. Stella gets sick as they are walking to the car. Laura reprimands Dave for starting their argument when they could be at the shelter right now. Then Tyler notices a creature standing on the side of the road. It is dead. Maddie moves toward it. Here, the monster's lengthy tentacles emerge from a hole in the ground, and twist around her legs as they attempt to inject her. Maddie wails loudly, and Tyler and Dave come to her aid. Dave cuts the ropes on Garrett's hands as he offers his assistance. They go to the mountain summit. They witness a burned-out and ruined city. The automobile won't start when they go down to it. Monsters emerge from the mountain summit and charge directly in their direction. Garrett struggles to start the car while Stella scans the creatures before turning her attention to her husband's rifle. Ted begs her to turn over the gun as she pulls it and exits the vehicle. Stella realizes she is doomed, so she turns away and goes to the monsters. Ted cries out to her on the phone, but Dave puts him in the car. They manage to depart just in time. Monsters in their hordes run after them. They come upon a radio signal while traveling. They claim that practically all of the bunkers were destroyed because they were unable to survive the assault. Dave massages Laura, and she puts her hand on his shoulder. They approach the entrance. The doors are open but the room is vacant. The hideaway, according to Garrett, is in the cellar. The electricity needs to be restored before they arrive. Ted has a wound, so Garrett and Dave decide to go for it while the others search for the first aid station. Dave brings the power back. According to Garrett, the gate was ready for a second attack, but the well was too deep. Tons of salt were pumped into them. When they arrive at the others, they hear creatures roaring and discover a dead body covered in blood. There are still 2 hours to go. The eclipse's conclusion. As the doors to the chemical storage are impregnable, Garrett volunteers to shelter there. Garrett is suddenly attacked by a monster. Dave and he work together to defeat it, but the other monsters flee in response to the noise. Garrett dashes through a door, shutting it behind him. His veins are swollen and black, as though he had given himself some sort of injection. Dave urges Tyler to keep his mother safe while he is abroad as he returns to his family. In order to equalize the playing field and keep the monsters out, he plans to channel the salt water via the tank pipes. Dave is given a kiss and is cautioned by Laura. Dave enters the vents and observes the creature devouring its prey. Dave needs to close the faucets near to the monster-chewing thing. He succeeds in turning the faucet on, and a container of water fills up. The monster scents Dave's attempt to retreat and charged after him. Dave responds by sprinkling salt on it, which causes the monster to disintegrate. The others, meantime, were already being pursued and encircled by creatures. Tyler answers back. Dave then requests that the fire alarm be activated over the loudspeaker. They are being besieged by creatures, who are drawing nearer. Tyler is urged to defend the family, by Ted, and swings an axe at the creatures. At the same time, other creatures attack him. When Tyler fires back, a bleeding Ted tries to defend himself. When Tyler runs out of ammunition, he activates the fire alarm, which causes salt water to shoot out in all directions and strike the monsters, causing them to disintegrate into bloody dust while shrieking in agony. Ted is gone, but they are all preserved. Eclipse is over. All monsters use the back gate to exit. Children and Laura hurry to a location where Garrett is waiting with a pistol. He kills Tyler. "This is no longer our planet." He declares that he won't live nonetheless since Scott is taking the day off. Laura makes an effort to enclose her son in her body. Garrett receives a fire extinguisher blow to the head from Dave as he rushes in. When Garrett collapses on the ground, Dave charges Tyler and Laura. A big creature shows up from underneath here. Garrett got closer to it when it lunged at him, slowly engulfing him. They rush into the medical facility and prepare a salty concoction in a cylinder as the monster approaches. Dave manages to toss a canister of mixture at it even though it kicks down the doors. The creature roars fiercely as it bursts and then disintegrates into ash. They don't think they've been saved. Laura hugs Dave. Both couples leave while still holding hands. The monsters are gone, but the planet is destroyed. One thing is certain, life will be reborn, and light will always triumph over darkness. Perhaps this is only another respite. All okay, bye for now. Comment with the movies you'd want to hear me mention throughout my performance.